Welcome back to Where Gogsy Goes, and in this vlog we are stripping out the kitchen of the caravan. We originally planned to take out the front panels of the caravan walls where we could get access to the damp and see what damage there is, and start airing it out, drying it out, and repairing it, putting insulation in and then repaneling it. However, we went with the flow for the day and decided, okay, let's take out the kitchen instead. So here we go. First thing we did was make sure that there was no gas left in the system, and here you'll see the top valve is for the hob and the bottom one is for the fridge freezer. We made sure that it was all off and nothing was connected so that we could start disconnecting the cooker system. First thing we wanted to take off was the cooker, so we looked at where the pipes were running and it was straight down here. So we grabbed an adjustable spanner, a fairly small one, and then we started to go to town on it. This was unworkable because of all the rust, so then I grabbed a larger spanner, and eventually the rust was broken through, and unfortunately I bent the pipe from the gas valve a little bit. This became a bit of a problem later on when we were trying to take the metal structure of the grill area out, which we'll show you later on. This bottom piece was a bit of a nuisance, but with just a little bit of brute strength we managed to get it off. I will note now that there was a seal around the oven connecting it to the worktop, so Amy had already taken that off before I went underneath, and then this was fairly easy just to take out as a complete piece, and that is now sellable, so we will sell that in the near future, and any money will go back into the caravan or towards future holidays, which is cool. The internal metalwork needed to come out next, so we attempted to use a screwdriver, but it was a bit of a nuisance, so we reverted to a drill, which was a lot easier to get these screws out. But if you don't have a drill, then it's perfectly fine to just use a normal screwdriver. Once all the screws were out, it was time to bash about and try and get this sodding thing out of the unit. I will note that at this moment in time we did not decide on taking the entire kitchen unit out. We just wanted to take out the cooker, disconnect everything from the gas system, because we wanted to install a different gas unit. However, as we were going along, we realised that it's probably much easier and feasible and realistic to take the entire unit out, including the fridge, because later on down the line we didn't want to run into any problems. And it's, you know, this thing's 31 years old, so it had its time. It all still works, but you know, it was due for a complete refit. So here we go, let's start bashing about and taking this sheet of metal out. It was oh my god, it was hard to get out. So there's where the gas pipe is, it was coming through a little slit on the sheet metal, and this was really difficult to push through, so it took a little bit of bashing, a bit of wiggling and using a couple of tools, but eventually I was able to get it off and pull the sheet from the unit. I could have easily sawn through the top of the worktop, but at this point we did not know that we were getting rid of the kitchen unit, as I said before. So we just carried on working and taking everything out nice and gently, make sure we weren't damaging anything, because the worst thing you can do is start knocking things about and crashing about, ripping things here, there and everywhere, and then you've got holes in your caravan. The cooker lid came off fairly easily, it wasn't damaged and everything was there, so we popped it with the cooker unit, and that can be sold as a complete set to go to a new home. Oh yeah, this bit here. So all we wanted to do at this point was get the sink out so we could spray the sink and put it back in. Oh, there's my boy. You'll see him quite a bit. He likes to pop on camera now and again. Little cutie. There he is again. So I was looking through all the holes, trying to work out how to pop this panel off, and it was all the buttons on the front were restricting it from coming off, because all I wanted to do was take off the sink. Underneath there though, there was some brackets that I had to unscrew, but to get to them I needed to either lift the sink up a little bit or take that front panel off and nothing was working. So then I thought, okay, let's see if we can access from the side. These screws that I'm trying to take out, they are drilled directly into the wall panel of the Caravan. So I would try to be careful not to damage anything. That didn't work though. So I mean, I've missed it at this point, but I ripped off the front panel and everything popped off. And then we thought, right, screw it. Let's take the entire unit out. Because the fridge it's manky anyway, you know, it's 31 years old, it's very inefficient on energy. So here we go, so we're starting to be a little bit rougher, yeeting everything about. That fridge door got yeeted out, and then Amy was starting to tinker about looking for what's what, and then I had a bash at unscrewing some stuff. And then occasionally giving the fridge a little wiggle, seeing what it was attached to, and then locating what needed to be unscrewed, because I've never done this before, Amy's never done this before, and eventually we managed to get it off. And it's just a case of going in, seeing what needed to be taken out, like this panel, not a panel, but it's like a protector against the grill so that there's no weather that comes in and damages any electrics, and it's just a case of going in and finding. So where I pointed then with my finger, that was the gas pipe bolt that needed to be unscrewed, as well as it was like a junction box for electrics. And then, but I couldn't get to it, so we had to take off the top of the unit, but we didn't want to damage the wall panels of the Caravan, so we were trying to be careful, even though we had a crowbar. It was all doweled and glued down, so we thought, right, fuck it, let's bash it about, give it a bit of a wiggle. What's it connected to? We found some screws inside the wardrobe, so we went in, unscrewed them. One of the screws in there was a pain in the arse, and it was like it was still in, but it was screwing but not unscrewing. So anyway, we went to town on the worktop and got a crowbar to it, lifted it off, and after that I was able to get access onto the top of the fridge unit, fridge freezer. The bolts were rusted, so I've got 2 adjustable spanners, and eventually managed to break through the rust. There we go, and everything else was fairly easy after that. It's just a case of unscrewing everything, popping the pipes off, pulling the fridge out. I landed on my toe, so I was a bit like, ah, you little bugger, but it didn't matter. Lifted it back up. This electrical unit on top was pretty easy to get off. However, at this point, for everyone's reference, do not start chopping cables off. All right, you have to be exceptionally careful so you don't electrocute yourself. Make sure that the junction box is all off. Make sure that there's no electricity coming out of it, and then once you've located the wires that you want to cut the wires. Make sure it's still earthed at this point, just in case there's any residual energy within the system. And yeah, we just started popping stuff off, and then the earthing cable was the last thing to cut out. Anyway, this fridge freezer got yeeted because it's 31 years old and we didn't want it, and we're going to put a new one in. We went back to taking out the rest of the unit, but we had a bit of trouble because where the gas pipes, the electric protective pipes and the water pipes coming through into the kitchen unit, they were drilled through like a hole. So you'll see it in a sec. There we go, there's a hole, and we could not get it out without a saw, and we didn't have a saw on us at the time, hence why this video is in 2 parts and it's on both sides, so we'll come back to that another day. The walls were exposed and it showed a little bit of damp, so I started tapping, and it was hard and not hollow, which means that it's a fairly easy job to do. All of this took us about 1 hour to do, and we did an alright job, to be honest. Next video, part 2, we'll see you there. Thanks for watching.